I'm going to be answering compulsory question 3, which is, how did your production skills develop throughout this progress? So firstly, I'm going to be talking about pre-production. So we have scheduling, casting, and location recce's, and there's also more in the next slides. So to schedule, we had production meetings where as groups we would all discuss our next availability to meet and film the shots we needed. We ensured the majority of us could come together and collaborate our ideas to produce the best material for our film. And then for casting, we needed 2 girls, which we chose Brittany and Janae for. We wanted Lisa to be very expressive and really convey the devastation that she felt due to her circumstances. We thought that Lisa was conveyed in a very emotive way. And then also, we didn't cast anyone for our Supreme Governor, as we wanted to keep this character an enigma to the audience, which would have then created suspense for them, which I think worked very well, as it left the audience guessing who this person is. And then location recce's. So for our locations, we needed places where we could film establishing shots and really maximise the effectiveness of the environment. But in order to do this, we had to do location recce's to ensure that the places we were using were safe for everyone in our group, and also that they could be used in our storyboard, which I did for the group. So, for example, we used Greenwich Market as one of our shots, and we thought it was important in conveying the poorer side of society and what it was like for them. Okay, so next we have costume and props. So for costume, we wanted a more authentic and ragged look, so we then made our actors wear more ragged clothes, which we thought was very good in conveying their social class. We also used them to convey status. So for example, the news reporter, he was dressed very formally and well, which conveyed that he was part of the governor and the richer side of society, whereas our distressed woman, who was played by Ellen, wore a scarf that covered her face and quite baggy clothes, which conveyed how she was trying to run away from this fascist society. We then used props. So for props, we used typewriters, a typewriter, a trophy, a picture book / journal. So for the typewriter, we used it for the letter that Linda was writing to Escape to Eden to Lisa. And we used a typewriter to convey how they were being watched by the government and how they couldn't use any technology, because if they did, then they would be tracked. We then used the trophies to explain to the audience how after the governor came into power, women were unable to take part in sports and didn't have free will as much as they did before. And then lastly, we had the picture book, which presents Lisa's memories and how she used to be with Linda and how they used to have a loving and caring relationship, but now that's disintegrated as we see the governor's rule has taken them apart, as he shames them for being together. So before we started our production, we had to do a group pitch in our classes, and we were talking about our movie and what it was about, etc. This was just to give people a summary on what happens and what it will be about. And as you can see, here are some photos of my group and I pitching our group. And there's also a link there that takes you to the video. So I was delegated the role of doing the storyboard for our opening of our movie, and after I read the scripts, I came up with these. So I tried to imagine the movie and the shot types that would work well in conveying the narrative, and also that captured the environment, that could explain what was going on to the audience. And I also tried to capture human emotion by using establishing shots and obviously, as I said, the landscapes, and to gain an understanding of what we wanted this dystopian, destructive world to look like. So I really wanted to try and get across the dystopian look So I depicted the photo of the Thames with the buildings in the background, which I thought were quite good for a dystopian theme. So then we had the script, which was done by Janae. So we have a few drafts. So I'll just go through those. I also helped cut down the script because at one point we were over time, so we had to cut down. So yeah. And then we also have our risk assessment that we did, which just is ensuring that all the places that we go to are safe for us and how hazardous places will be. So yeah. Then we also have the location recce. This is where we went out and took photos of the places that we thought we could use for our movie or we thought would be good examples of what we wanted our movie to be like. So here we have Greenwich Market, as I said before, which we thought was good of getting the vibe and the atmosphere that we wanted in the movie. Then we also have some photos of Greenwich Park and also Greenwich University. So the vast landscapes with the skyscrapers in the background, as I said before, conveys a dystopian and futuristic genre that we really wanted to capture. And then again, here's a closer up picture of the Greenwich University. We wanted this to be the Supreme Governor's headquarters or place of living, so that as it is very prestigious and it's quite a grand building and nice architecture as well, which we thought was good as he's obviously meant to be rich and has a lot of power. So here's just another photo of the university. This photo in particular conveys a very futuristic genre, as the buildings are lit up with the purple colouring and the yellow colouring. And we also thought that these colours are usually associated with royalty, which fits really well with the governor. And also, the buildings of London being behind really displays how everything that happens in the society stays within it, and everything that the governor says, it goes with him. This is also where we would want the supposed higher class people to be living. So here are just some more photos of Greenwich Park that really just capture the environment. So now onto the production period. So we have camera skills, sound skills, location management. So while filming, we used a very varied amount of shot types, as we wanted to use lots of different ones to make the audience feel a certain way. So for example, we used close-up shots, panning, over-the-shoulder shots, and also some more. So the over-the-shoulder shots helped the audience gather what is happening in the scene, and the close-ups conveyed very good emotion. Then for sound skills, we used different pieces of sound throughout the piece. So for example, we have the sound of the typewriter when Lisa is writing the letter to display what's happening, and then we also had the voiceover throughout, which is constantly informing the audience on what's happening and where we're going to go from here. And then we also have the underlay music, which I personally chose, and it's from an instrumental. It's the instrumental from a video game, which is like an apocalyptic dystopian world, and it's also futuristic. So I thought that it would fit very well with our piece, as it's very similar genres. Then lastly, we have location management, which we decided to use as Greenwich Park, the nurse's office for the pregnant woman, and we also used my house to film the Colonel meeting Lisa and her father, so she can be married off to him. We also used Greenwich as well to look through the poorer side of society and how the society is being constantly monitored. So then we have health and safety, interior filming, exterior filming, and writing skills. So in order to ensure all our health and safety, we took the risk assessment, as I said before, which evaluated dangers to us. So a car hitting us while we're out, one of us getting lost, equipment being broken, So we prevented all these things by being self-aware and constantly checking the weather so that we didn't choose bad days, and being very careful with our equipment. So for interior filming, we used my house for the Colonel scene, inside the nurse's office, as I've already said, and inside the living room. And exterior, we used a train station, in parks, and in high streets. So then writing skills for this assignment, it definitely did help with my writing skills, as I was able to use my previous writing skills in order to help Janae with the editing of the script, that with everything we needed to cut down. So I helped remove unnecessary parts, really. We then have shot types, camera angles, lighting effects, and directing skills. So as I have already said, we used lots of different shot types, which really help capture the environment. At the end, we used the establishing shots of the garden, which was meant to represent Eden, which represents a place of freedom and escape for the characters. So we have camera angles. So we used low down camera angles, which look down to the characters as well as looking up to them. So these different levels kind of created enigma or a hierarchy within characters and leaves them with suspense also. We use shots where the camera is angled down in order to portray the camera as a security camera, which, as I just said, reinforces the fact that society was constantly monitored and surveillanced by the governor. So lighting effects. In our movie, we didn't really use a lot of lighting, apart from when the colonel meets the governor and Lisa's scene. So here we try to dim the lights in order to get a melancholic feel, as Lisa was obviously very emotional. She didn't want to be going through this. But other than this, we didn't really use lighting that much, as we didn't really need to. Then directing skills. Throughout this assignment, I have learned how to tell the actors that we used what to do and how to do this in a certain way that my group and I would like. It's also helped me improve my skills in setting up the camera and using the camera in general, and also the use of props and when they are being good to use. So finally, for production, we have makeup and prosthetics, costume, continuity, and acting skills. So for makeup and prosthetics, we didn't actually really use anything, as we wanted our piece to be as realistic as possible, but also because we were quite limited in, like, we wouldn't really be using prosthetics because it was unnecessary, as our genre didn't fit into that kind of theme. But for costume, due to there being different characters, it was varied for everyone. So for example, the Colonel and Lisa's father were both very posh, so they had to wear suits, which conveyed their importance and their upper class status. Whereas, as I said before, the woman being arrested wore more ragged and boring clothes. So finally, we had Lisa, who was wearing quite posh clothes, as she was part of a wealthy family and would dress like that. So overall, we used costume to convey the character status in general. Continuity. Our piece didn't necessarily need to be as fluid as other movies, as the whole movie is different clips of different people at different times, so it already is quite jagged. But bearing this in mind, we did make it quite a free-flowing, fluid movie. So to ensure it didn't look very messy and like static, we did edit the clips by doing fading in between so that the transitions are smooth, and it makes it more aesthetically pleasing to watch for the audience. And finally, for acting skills, we wanted our actors to be able to convey what the characters were feeling without being separated from their character, so it was very emotive.